Oh no, they took his copper horn!
They molted the
No!
horn.
They melted the horn down! No! This is the worst timeline. Okay, I'm thinking though, I don't like that at all. Let's not do that. I thought that we could do a little bit of a crit think, Alex. How does that feel?
My brain,
Your brain.
it throbs.
Okay. I have a crit think question for you though.
Great.
And it is revolving around what we could do to incorporate one of our old characters into the next campaign.
You're referring to like tabletop, I assume?
We're talking about tabletop, yeah.
That's easy. You just take your character and go on a new adventure.
You take the son of the adventure.
No, you take the actual character.
And you just do you do another one?
Yep. You just be like, all right, adventure number 2. I don't know if that'll actually work. It depends on if you're doing a brand new campaign with new characters.
You get to the end of your campaign, you are a demigod. There's like no more like character upgrades that you could possibly do, and then you just retire for a little while. You come back and they're going, new levels! And you just keep on going up. So
alternate versions of the same character?
You could do the evil version. Put a mustache on him.
Yeah, put a mustache on him.
Perfect. Here's the. So let me give you the example that I was thinking about. The scenario
Sure.
that I was thinking about. Okay. As you probably remember, I played a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle named Rembrandt.
Yes.
Everyone is aware. Anyway, Rembrandt, at one point in the story, this is very well known, got these Githyanki sabers.
Mm-hmm.
We're aware of that. He
I'm
eventually
aware of this.
Yeah, he eventually ended up trapped in a Technicolor Hell dimension, so we really don't know what happened to him after that. But he had those sabers. Here's the thing. I was considering a character for another campaign where I played a Gith that was trying to track down sabers that were stolen by some giant-ass turtle and trying to find them as the reference point that would inform the next character's story arc, essentially. So that's kind of like what I'm thinking about. Like the idea of stuff that your character did and where they went, informing who your characters are going to be and what they do in the next campaign, if you want to do a continuation of a storyline from the world they built.
Well, part of that requires the idea that your characters are inhabiting the same world. Or the same multiverse.
Yeah.
For instance. And like with my old games that I would run, I did have an interconnected world where, you know, my king character, my NPC, Rexall, Death Dice.
We're aware.
Just because his name's great.
Death Dice, yeah.
Rexall, you know, was a constant throughout the campaign.
Sure.
Or the multiple campaigns, because they all took place in the same world.
Okay.
Yep. And so that's one thing. But if you're playing different games with different GMs, perhaps, or different quests, and you may not be in the same world, so that could be a lot tougher. But if we're gonna go with the assumption that you're playing characters that all exist in the same universe, okay, now we have a lot more room to work with. You could be like, for instance, Rembrandt.
Yeah.
Maybe he's got 3 other Ninja Turtle brothers.
And you have to fight them.
No, and you could be his brothers.
Oh, yeah.
Since you've got Rembrandt, I assume one would be Da Vinci, maybe?
I think we're going with Da Vinci, maybe Klimt or something. I think that might work.
I don't know, I cannot remember Michelangelo's last name, because it's Italian.
It's Michelangelo Da Vinci.
You could do, like, Galileo.
Oh, Alighieri, isn't it?
I don't remember. Hold, please.
Anyway, you could have, well, while you look that up, basically, you could have 4 of the Ninja Turtles. I can tell you, though, canonically, he wouldn't, but maybe they had some. Yeah.
Michelangelo di Lodovici Buonarroti Simoni. I can't say this here.
That was
I'm gonna
perfect
copy-paste it.
pronunciation.
I'm
So
gonna
good.
copy paste it, and you can tell me.
Okay, you copy paste it in, and I will tell you.
You can read this.
You copy paste it. Okay. Michelangelo de Lodovico Buonarroti Simoni.
Sure. I'm sure somebody in this room here could say that better than I could because they have a minor in art history.
All I
But
know,
it's not me.
all I know is that it's probably good that we don't have a huge Italian audience, or they would be very upset with us right now.
If we did, too bad.
That was horrible Italian. I don't know what that was.
My son is 25% Italian.
Everything I learned about Italy, I learned from Assassin's Creed 2.
Great. Anyways.
Ezio Auditore di Firenze. Anyway.
Yeah. Anyways, so for instance, with Rembrandt being a Ninja Turtle, obviously getting references from the Ninja Turtles.
Sure.
Because you named him after an artist that was not one of the Ninja Turtles.
Sure.
You could do like, all right, if you want to go with that themes, you know, Rembrandt probably has 3 other siblings.
Yeah.
And a arch nemesis by the name of Shredder. You could call him Grater. Or a rat named Splinter. You could call him like Woodchip.
Woodchip. I love Woodchip. Master Woodchip.
But you know, you have character from that inspiration you already drew for that character. You have other things you could pull from to make characters that, you know, can take from, like, not even just a gift, but like, oh yeah, well, he's got the 2 sabers, so he'd be like Leonardo. Maybe you're gonna make someone that uses a staff.
Sure. He actually had a staff.
Like,
so he had.
Well, I don't know what he specialized in.
Okay. He had a bow staff originally, so it had been like Donatello, but I guess with the sabers he would also be kind of like Leonardo. He could have a boomerang.
You could give him an attitude.
You could.
And make him a Raphael.
Side note, could I take the very concept of like the boomerang, but then make it like a ninja star and have it return?
That's up to your DM.
Okay. Aesthetically, I'm thinking, but there was one other thing that I was considering. There was another character that I wanted to make that also kind of went along with it in a little less of a, you know, reference nerd culture kind of thing. But Rembrandt trained at Sunscale Academy, which I had imagined as like this former golden dragon roost that was up in the mountains that that masters of monkdom essentially trained different students in that were very talented. And so there was another character that I was looking to play called Valkyrie, and she was an Aarakocra that was studying the Sun Soul line, and she was also from that academy. She was from Sunscale Temple.
I mean, you can absolutely make characters that have a similar background tie-in.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be character tie-in, but say you said the Sunscale Academy. It's like, yeah, I have another character. You could flesh that specific thing out with another character who went there. And then you can use your characters to flesh out this place to help world build.
Sure. So I kind of thought that as a nice little exercise, we talked about, you know, Rexall, we talked a little bit about Rembrandt, but I was kind of thinking about how this would apply to other characters that I've played. So I thought that I would mind palace that a little bit during the crit
We're gonna see where this goes. How do these characters end up getting, getting placed into the world after their time has passed? So the next one that I had played after Rembrandt was in the 1879 game, and that would have been Dr. Ferris McFly. And Dr. Ferris McFly, as you probably are not aware, was basically an inventor. He was considered a weird scientist, and he would make these inventions that were, you know, guns and shields and all sorts of fun stuff like that.
So one of the aspects that would have been more long-term for him, though, is when he went back to London and collected his money from the South American expedition, he bought, or I should say he rented out a warehouse space to build a workshop, which he called the Danger Zone. And he hired a few people to make stuff. Actually, I think the thing that he was trying to mass produce was this portable tandoori smoker that he invented while he was in South America, to see if he could make a bunch of those with some scrap. I could see, even though he's on other expeditions and stuff, the Danger Zone as a touch point if you had other characters that ended up in London, or have the smiths that he hired be touchstone characters. Goose and Iceman, and I can't remember who the other one was, but I gave them all fun nicknames that were,
of course you did,
that were based on a movie. But I was thinking that might be a good touchstone part, especially if I made a whole thing where he defaulted on rent payments and now it's up for sale or something. Because he wasn't very good with money anyway, but the idea that could actually be a touchstone, and we could have characters that go there and get maybe their supplies from some of the stuff that he left behind, because he had to carry light. Go back to the Danger Zone as a touchstone for something that he did in the world, even if he's not necessarily in it. And you could use that as a jumping off point or a story point for the next character.
You can always find a way to tie it back in. Like your GM specifically could find a way to tie it back in if they wanted to make it a callback, for instance.
Sure.
Oh yeah, you come to this place, it's got a sign that says Danger Zone, but the Danger Zone is crossed out and it says for sale.
For sale. Absolutely. Perfect.
And then you could inquire, you could have your character inquire, what is up with this place for sale? Like, well, if you read the sign, it's like the listing, as you will. It's a former workshop of this person. Maybe
Sure.
give a little history of the person if they want. They haven't been back in months. The rent is past due. We're looking for anyone who wants to take this over. There's a business.
Sure.
Like, all the stuff that's inside from when they left can be sold off or whatever.
Sure. You have like storage wars, but it's for the Danger Zone.
Yeah.
That's great. It's an unsealed. You start your story. Ooh, that's fun. You start your story as the person who, sight unseen, has bought this workshop and the contents inside, and
all they see are half-built tandoori smokers.
Just the half-built tandoori smokers, and like an alligator-style like shield that's over on the side. He would have taken his deployable shield with him, but the one he made out of alligator leather he probably left on the wall as a status symbol. So something fun like that. I thought that would be fun for like a Victorian England kind of setting. Sure, we can go with that. Okay, Snowball. So one of the lasting legacies, I think, of Snowball was that there was the whole Hoof and Horn Detective Agency, which, depending on the version that you have, either he founded or possibly did found, but then also is just employed there because somebody else owns the business. There's really no saying that you couldn't just build another monster character that also worked for the Hoof and Horn Detective Agency, or a rival agency that keeps coming across the Hoof and Horn Detective Agency.
Sure, you could be the person, you could work for the person who wants to buy out the Hoof and Horn Detective Agency.
From Mr. Pugsley.
Or who got bought out by it.
Oh, yeah.
Perhaps your boss is Snowball.
Sure.
Perhaps you find Snowball dead.
Oh my God, no!
Somebody
no, we
murdered
can't.
Snowball, and
No.
you need to find out why.
No.
It's a whodunit now,
I don't like.
Nathan.
I don't like this. I don't like this.
Rainbow unicorn blood
This-
everywhere.
This is the worst timeline. There's like, can you imagine that? Poor Snowball laying down, got the deerstalker cap on, and there's a rainbow blood thing trail.
Yes.
Just a rainbow blood trail coming on. It's like, oh no, they shoot unicorns, don't they? Oh no.
And the horn is cut off.
Oh no, they took his copper horn.
They
No.
melted the horn.
They melted the horn down. No, this is the worst timeline. Okay, I'm thinking though. I don't like that at all. Let's not do that. I don't like
It's
that
okay.
at
It's really just a body double for later.
all. Oh, okay,
Yeah.
cool.
You just
It's a minor illusion.
it's
Or
a major
illusion. Yeah, it's a major.
It's a body double. It's a
It's a Trojan unicorn.
Snowball was a doppelganger the whole time.
It was just. You remember that really stupid movie called Face Off where John Travolta and Nick Cage change faces? It's
I try
that.
not to.
It's that. We have him and his rival, the Nightmare, that I was talking to James D'Amato about. We do those, and it's switched. Or, better idea that's not nearly as disturbing and tragic. We do this like a long time in the future where the Hoof and Horn Detective Agency has been abandoned and somebody is coming in to like wade through the cobwebs and take on their old cases that they never solved.
Like where Snowball went.
It's the damn it. It's the it's like the X-Files, Alex. Remember, like in the X-Files,
It's the X-Files.
it's the X-Files, the unexplained. That there was that whole thing where that, like, yeah, the unexplained files. We didn't have any more space in U, so we put them in X. That was the whole thing in the X-Files. That's why they became that. There was not enough space. So yeah, you go and you wade through the files and you start picking up the cold cases from the Hoof and Horn Detective Agency.
It's all deals with the disappearance of Snowball.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
And then you find Snowball was murdered.
Exactly.
I'm just leading it all back to that.
In every timeline,
The
Snowball...
prime suspect is Nightmare, but it's not Nightmare.
Darn. That's tragic.
Nightmare's the mayor or something. Yeah,
The mayor.
Mayor.
The mayor. May I say your mayor? You enjoy? That's fun. Anyway, let's imagine that there's a timeline where Snowball does not die.
No.
It's the only timeline. I said so. So anyway, so
In a
there's
Thanos snap.
yeah. He said yeah. All of a sudden, where'd Snowball go? Someone found a cute gauntlet with a bunch of stones in it. It's a great fashion accessory, and it can blink you out of existence. Anyway, so I think that actually would have led me up to Max, and I obviously I'm still playing Max, so I don't really know what happens to him. But I would kind of imagine that, considering he's supposed to be a very famous musician, people might have heard stories about him at some point. No, never mind. Well into the future, because he's an old gnome at this point, but well into the future, there is, of course, the possibility that they would find his instruments, and maybe they would become the new Max Jaguar.
Maybe.
They become the cover artist for Max Jaguar, and they become the BCEC cover band. How about you? What, like, Hephaestus actually did have a little bit of, like, presence after he died, didn't he?
No, he didn't.
Oh.
I made a new character,
Okay.
which had nothing to do with Hef.
So he didn't really pop up back. Like, did his storyline have anything to do with what happened in that campaign afterward, though?
Yeah, the other character got him resurrected.
Oh, perfect.
Yeah, so I played solo with a noble warlock, Balok Hexenblade.
Gotcha.
or Hexenbard, I think is what his name was. He was a Hexblade. And Baylock, I played for a little bit, and then our stories reconverged because David at the time was doing a one-on-one with me and a one-on-one with Bo, and Bo's character was going about doing stuff I didn't know what he was doing, and I still don't really know what he did, but I know that what he did is he brought Hef's body to a place to get him brought back to life.
Oh, okay.
Which could have ended up a couple different ways, but the role was in my favor, and I came back in my own body and wasn't reincarnated in a different body.
Gotcha.
So,
So if you picked up the game world that you were in, and
that world?
Yeah, that world.
Oh.
But you had a different character, how would Hef actually factor into that? Is there something that Hef did during that time or anything that made sense to the storyline?
Yeah, they dethroned a fucking tyrant.
So there's that.
We killed Hitler.
You
for all intents and purposes.
Oh my goodness. Oh, you were
no,
the Stauffenberg of the story.
the BBEG in that game was our other character's like half brother,
Sure.
I think, that he never knew he had.
Mm.
Who hated anyone that was not like pretty much human.
Yeah.
None of the so any monstrous races.
Yeah.
So orcs, half elves count in this sense. He didn't like any of the non-pure races.
Oh,
So
yeah.
he was like, yeah, we're just gonna murder them all. So we went around and helped the resistance and murdered him.
Oh, very good.
Literally, we're the ones who killed him.
Well, considering what, Shump and Hef were a dragonborn and a half-orc, I imagine they had a vested interest in this.
I mean, yes, we also were imprisoned twice by them, and turns out Shump's mother was his mother or something, father or something? I think his father was this guy's father. So that guy kind of hated the part of him that had orc blood in him.
Oh.
Or
Well, that's...
something. I don't remember entirely, but point of that is, yeah, the entire city structure was completely obliterated because we got rid of the old government.
Oh, okay.
By force.
So, if you built a new character, it could be picking up what was left after basically the entire power structure implodes.
Yeah, it could have been like a human. Let's say we are a human character who's coming to terms with the fact their city is no longer a place of extreme racial inequality.
Sure.
And there's an influx of all these monstrous races.
Oh,
now
sure,
that it's,
sure.
Safe for them. And it could be not that they're against it, it's just it's different. It's so different from what they're used to.
How do you make that work with the new?
It's how do you reintegrate into that society where there are half orcs and gnomes and elves and
Minotaurs
Dragonborn.
just live there now.
Sure, it's like, okay, this is all new to me. Suddenly, our government's overthrown, and all these things that we were told were monsters are moving in.
Sure. It's
you could have a character like that.
Yeah, it's similar to imagine like the original trilogy Star Wars, and then where you start like the sequel trilogy. It's like the Empire fell, and then there was this period like before the First Order came around, and there's that middle part that's in there afterward, after the Emperor we thought was dead.
Yeah. So I think for me, if I were to be in that universe again, it'd be interesting for after the fall of I don't even remember his name, the Lord. After his fall, after the resistance has won, and the city's rebuilding after being pretty much in siege, that type of character where you're coming into a brand new world, essentially, that would be interesting to me.
Yeah, that sounds like a...
So it's not that the character has anything to do with Hephaestus himself, but it's the results of stuff that character did in that
Sure.
world that change that world that you're dealing with. And I think
Got
that is also a good way to do that.
Yeah. In terms of some of the things that I've thought about for, just anyone out there who might be listening for their campaigns is one of the thought processes I had was imagine you're a typical adventuring party and after you leave a town, everything is on fire. Because this does seem to happen quite a bit.
Yes.
You might
Especially
end up,
when you light the town on fire.
especially when you light the town on fire, and it probably happened at a bar, and that's fine. It starts at a tavern. Everything starts at a tavern. The tavern gets set on fire. Everything else catches because it's full
Started
of
a game
alcohol.
once that way.
Yeah,
The tavern on fire. That was fun.
perfect. I imagine that it would be a pretty interesting idea if you had a campaign where you were an adventuring party trying to track down the former adventuring party that had set the town on fire, and we're trying to get them to we're trying to track them down because you did a bad thing.
See, that's
And-
fun to a point, except then you realize that you're really just doing if you follow them, you're really just reliving the same adventure you just went on.
Yeah,
I think it'd be more fun to do with a party of players who weren't in the last adventure for that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because then you get the first adventure goes through and they set all these fires. And then these new players come through and they're like, what the fuck is going on? Why are all these towns on fire?
Yeah.
And they actually don't know what's going on.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
So-
And then you're trying to figure out, hey, why is everything burned down here?
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. I feel like that you don't even need previous context for that. You could just do a campaign where you just imagine a bunch of adventures. It's like that sketch that they did, I think, on College Humor, where the hero just goes into random houses and just flips over all of the chests and the drawers and stuff and takes out shirts and and the people that are in the houses are like, yeah, okay, yeah, oh, you want that shirt? It doesn't even fit. Okay, fine, you take it. Kind of like what happens in every RPG that you play, where you just randomly go into houses.
Or you just go into a house and break pots.
You just go into a house, you break a bunch of pots, you break over the table, you take off the sweet rolls off the table, and people just kind of go, oh, yeah, adventures came through. That's great. Yeah.
Oops.
Oh, well. I don't know. I think that it's an interesting idea to be thinking about when it comes to what happened once upon a time, and then working off of that. I just, it doesn't necessarily have to be the entirety of your game, though. It can just be like a touchstone point, either a jumping off point or something to add a little bit more flavor for your character. But this is a crit think, so I am going to pass the question on to everybody else. One of your characters, how do they factor into the next campaign? Yeah, hey, I got it in 1 this time.
Good job. Proud of you.
Yay! Alright.
We're really getting good at this. One day, we'll even have a catchphrase.
We'll even have a catchphrase. In the next campaign, we figure out what our catchphrase was. For
In the
here.
next podcast.
In the next podcast, we figure out the catchphrase for this.
See you in 5 years.
5 years, we'll have a new catchphrase for the old show.